Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels to short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Good morning.
Good morning, Sarah. Oh, we've got a guest here. What's going on? Who did you bring over?
We do have a guest here. Wait, I feel like we should put our guest in the middle. Producer on the back. Are we able to do that? Okay. All right. Wait, no, we're gonna
magic.
Oh, nope. Brian, then me.
This is 3-card Monty.
Yeah, exactly. Hey.
Keep an eye on who.
Hey. No, we got to put him back in, and then me. Yes. There you go. Yay. There we go.
Got it.
Wow.
Guest of honor now is in the middle. So listeners, if you're listening to this on the podcast, come watch us on YouTube. You'll see all the shifting on a live show.
Exactly. Check it out. Well, it's a very good morning and exciting because we have a fantastic guest today. We've got Brian Hicks here from HSMAI. Thank you, Brian, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome. I love this. Great to be with you this morning.
So why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do, so they have that 30-second download on what you got going on.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds good. Well, I am a career hotelier. This is all I've ever done from time I was in, just getting out of high school into college. Went to hotel school. I have worked for a number of major brands. And back in November of last year, had an amazing opportunity to step into this role as the president and CEO of HSMAI. And for those of you that have been around in the commercial space, I'm sure you're fully aware of HSMAI. But for those of you that are kind of new to the commercial space, we are an association, a global association, primarily in the Americas, but we have pretty good footing throughout Europe, Middle East, and Asia. And we are an association focused primarily on the commercial discipline of revenue management, sales, and digital marketing for the hotel industry. And we are kind of a couple of different pillars. Number one is education and certification. So we feel like our main goal is to educate individuals that might be new to the industry. Maybe they want to try to cross disciplines from, say, sales into revenue management or vice versa. And our certification programs, which are globally recognized, so people can get their certification and see that it's not a rubber stamp type of a certification. You've got to do some studying and really understand the discipline. We have networking events. In fact, we've got a really big one coming up in June in the Americas.
Yes, let's talk about that one.
Yeah, our commercial strategy conference. So little history on that. We had 3 different conferences typically throughout the year, one for sales, one for revenue management, one for digital marketing. And a couple of years ago, we combined the revenue management and digital marketing because a lot of the disciplines were going into one. Revenue management was being responsible for marketing. So we thought, hey, let's bring those 2 groups together. And it was a big success. And we changed the name to Commercial Strategy Conference. And it's just grown every year over year since we did that, as well as globally, it's growing year over year. In fact, May is back into May is our Singapore conference, and that's going to beat the numbers from last year. But this year as well, we're taking a page out of what all of our hoteliers are doing, which is bringing together sales, revenue management, and digital marketing all under one umbrella. Yeah. We call it commercial. It can be confusing for some people, but it's just kind of that commercial discipline. And we're going to be doing that again. We'll be bringing the sales team in June, June 17th, 18th in Indianapolis. We tie it into High Tech, which is a hospitality technology show, well established. We're great partners, and we're looking forward to having, I think we're going to have close to 1,000 attendees this year. So we've got a couple of the big brands that are bringing in all of their sales revenue, all their commercial teams, and they're having a team meeting on top of attending the conference. So we've got some great speakers lined up, some great education, real thought leadership in the commercial industry. So really excited about it. It's a lot leading up to it, but we're about 8 weeks away and couldn't be more excited for that week.
It is amazing, right? Because there's so many things that are changing and moving, and new technology, new strategies, and new types of products. And so all these people are just trying to keep up with their day-to-day, get to come to this and learn all new things.
Yeah, exactly right. Great networking as well. So, if you're needing to expand your network, I mean, this is something I'm finding recently with a lot of the next generation coming in. They're not comfortable really kind of going after and trying to increase their network, right? There's just some
Yeah.
hesitation, which I think we all know some of the reasons why, but,
Yeah.
technology might be part of that. They're on their phones more trying to do that, but my gosh, it is such an opportunity for if somebody who's trying to drive their career and get to that next step to start to work your network. Nobody's getting jobs from applying online anymore. It's who you know, right?
Yeah.
That's a great point, right? Like for everyone out there, really starting to meet people, go out there, network. That's why I've been doing my networking events, just because you got to get people together. Just get people together. It's always online now. So we were just talking backstage. It's great to see somebody on the streets you've been talking to for forever online. Now you see him in real life. So shout out to Caesar Worm that we saw, who's a friend of all of ours.
Yeah.
I know. Come on, Caesar.
Yeah, but I think this is great stuff to talk about for all, like a lot of topics fit into this that we're going to cover today. So Sarah, you think we kick it off here?
Yeah. Well, actually, I wanted a quick question here, because I know that you guys also do a state of talent report. So can you just talk about that briefly? Because I think that's awesome.
Yeah, so one of the big parts of our organization, we have our foundation. So we have a nonprofit foundation as part of HSMAI, and its main goal is research. So we have kind of an annual research that we perform every year on the state of talent within, specifically within hospitality for our commercial discipline. And we refresh it, and we do other kind of elements to it. So we've done an AI attachment to the current state of talent, which is really interesting. Just thinking about, how job descriptions are being created by the use of AI, and actually coming up with skill sets that might not necessarily be the typical person that you're looking for, but they might have the skills. Maybe they were in banking and they have great analytics, and AI is filtering that through, because our brains can't process all that fast. So it can pull out some of those individuals that might have analytics insights and knowledge from banking and say, you know what, actually this person would make a great revenue manager. So interview them, just talk to them, try to pull people in. And so the state of talent really pulled out a lot of that stuff. My favorite section of it, and it's available online, we're happy to share it as well, but is around the generational challenges at a hotel, right? So it is, I mean, look, you can't work from home in a hotel, right?
No.
It's just not, it's not possible. And so when you think about the staffing challenges that we have, whether it be, the boomers that are either still hanging on for a couple of years, or they come back to the workforce and they're looking for something part-time, hotels are great for that. I can pull a couple of shifts at the front desk or whatever it might be. And then we're attracting new talent, right? Gen Z coming in, which is going to take over the world, it feels like. I don't know if it's true or not, but there's certainly a lot of them out there. And so how do you deal with that at the hotel level, and really making sure that the communication stays solid, that you're keeping everybody motivated, because people are going to be motivated by different things. So you can't have one blanket, kind of policy of how to motivate people. PTO is another big one, which is just, Gen Z is like, 2 weeks. What does that mean? That's not, forget it.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas, the boomers are like, 2 weeks. That's fair.
That's standard.
Yeah. So there's a lot in there, a lot to take in, but I love that report. It keeps us on our toes, keeps refreshing it as well, and just some really good insights if you have some challenges with talent.
Yeah, no, I know. And I love that you brought up that part, especially with the different generations in the workforce, because it is, I mean, that's always the case, but I feel like right now it's even more. Hi, Paul. Oh, cool. I love this that Paul's joining us here. And Jeremy. Hello, Jeremy. By the way, as we're talking, when you guys are joining us, let us know where you're joining us in from. I know we didn't lead with that at the beginning, but please say hi.
Yeah, let Brian know all the places he's reaching today. We have several countries that watch us.
This is true. We do have several. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But the different generations, so I was thinking about this a lot, and then we'll dive into our topics. But my mom is going to be, I won't say her age, but for her sake, but my mother is going to be kind of changing jobs soon. And it's interesting thinking about her in different she works now doing sales for, a specific company, but she's going to be kind of coming back into the hotel industry. And I'm thinking about her in the workplace. I'm actually thinking about how it would be with myself working with her in the workplace. And it is interesting. And she brings so much value to the table, but we do have different ways and styles in which we work. And there's not one way to work, but it's everybody has different strengths. And so I've always find that very interesting.
Yes. I want to give one, because there was a guy I worked with. He was the general manager of the Willard Hotel in Washington, D.C. for many years.
Okay.
And then he retired, and he was in his 80s, and he wanted just a day job. And he said, I just want to be a host. And it was at Mandarin Oriental in Miami. And he was my host, maitre d', just greeted people, wowed people. And he taught me so much. I was a young, 20-something-year-old, and he taught me everything I needed to know of how to be an executive and how to do things the right way. And I'll never forget that guy. He was always very, very good to me.
That is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He told me, Steve, I'm not doing any work. I'm not doing any scheduling. I'm not doing any payroll, nothing. I will make sure every guest is happy. Yeah. So we leave it like that. That was great.
I love that story.
Yeah, I love it.
And that's a great hotel as well. I mean, amazing hotel, amazing service. So a great place to really learn the trade of hospitality.
It was great.
Well, that's fantastic.
I like these stories and all that kind of thing. So it just triggered in mind when you say, hey, those boomers just want to come back. He made me inspired. So when I'm that age, I'm going to do that for breakfast, go get my workouts in the day, and I'll come see you the next day.
Well, and I was at the Waldorf Astoria in Monarch Beach here in Southern California, last summer, and our server is like a former lawyer, and he's like, I just do this to make some extra cash and get out of the house and pick up some spending money for my wife. And I was just like, what? This is so cool. So I love that is what's so wonderful about hospitality is that you can have so many different backgrounds and people can come and join at all different ages, which is really fantastic.
I love it. So many people joining us. Good to see Lou from Charleston. Yes. We got Amy in from Chicago. Lonnie, good to see you from sunny South Florida. Aaron in Dallas. Love it. And Lou says, we boomers are very cool folks. I agree.
Always great here. Well, this is awesome. We'll make sure that we let us know if you want to see a link to this report. I think that would be great if you guys are comfortable sharing that. And then obviously any other links for you guys. I think it's fantastic. It's super interesting. Well, if you're ready, why don't we talk about what's going on in the world, which also ties into a lot. I know Brian's going to have some interesting insights.
I'm excited to hear some insights on these. Let's kick it off.
So first thing we're talking, and we touched a little bit on this last week. Please go ahead, keep it up there. Well, business travel was strong, but is it going to stay that way? Obviously, after a strong rebound in 2023 and early 2024, business travel's kind of starting to show a little bit that it's softening a bit. Corporate budgets are tightening. Obviously, economic uncertainty. There's a whole lot that's going on that we know is happening. So it's this interesting time. Travel leaders are showing that they're cautiously optimistic. But what are we kind of seeing? What are you seeing? And Brian, feel free to chime in.
I think Brian should jump in here because he's got the pulse on this. So how are you seeing it?
Look, we've been talking to a lot of our partners who have a lot of insights in a lot of these the statistics here. But look, we're seeing a big decline right now, unfortunately, in international travel coming in. It's probably down about 10%. Canada is probably one of the 40? Biggest areas where we're really I don't think that's going to change for this summer. So Canadians are scheduling their vacations and it's not the U.S. for many of them that it might have been before, and they're looking at Europe, they're looking at South America. They've got a lot of options, which is great. And look, we saw that through the pandemic, right? Canada shut their border. They were much more restrictive coming out of the pandemic, which probably about 6 to 9 months. And while it had an impact, of course, it wasn't dire. So I don't think there's a dire kind of situation on the horizon. But you couple that with Europeans also, kind of cutting back
Yes,
and
yeah.
rethinking their attendance as well. There's a concern about, just getting through immigration and getting back home, which is
Mhm.
crazy. Like that should never be a reason for people who would normally just travel to think twice about their immigration into the US and
Yeah.
getting back home. So that's having an impact. Look, at the end, I think if things kind of stay steady as they are, which is shaky, if we get to kind of past summer, business travel demand gets pent up and
Mhm.
there will be a need to start traveling again. So
Mhm.
my theory is, yes, we're going to see some bumpiness for the next few months. By the time we get to through the summer, see what that looks like, it's probably going to
Yeah.
be a little bit softer. I think the fall is going to kick back into that
Yeah.
necessary travel. You got to get back out there. You got to start making those connections. You got to make those
Mhm.
sales calls. We saw that if we haven't learned our lesson as of now, right?
Yeah.
You've got to get in front of your customers. You've got to get in front of your clients. Otherwise, you're going to lose the business, right? And that was one of the
Mhm.
things we heard at the, kind of as we were coming out of the pandemic. For some companies, they were like, if we lose a piece of business because somebody didn't get on a plane, like that's a bigger issue than
Yeah.
anything else, right? And I think that's still going to stay true. So I think we'll see that kind of surge come back. But what worries me the most is kind of the corporate travel budgets, and you touched on it, Sarah.
Yeah.
If those get tightened through the back end of the year, like it's just going to be late October, November, December could be a write-off.
Yeah.
And I started seeing that on my trip that I just took with a bunch of guys that are business owners, a lot of them,
Yeah.
right? They are all, medium-sized, small business. And they're saying, look, I just got 20% of my net worth wiped out personally. I got to tighten up my company real quick. And so they started to cancel things in front of me as stuff was happening. It was just like crazy, right? And so I think you're starting to see that with a lot of companies that would take 10 people, 12 people, 15 people somewhere to an offsite or go on a trip. So it's going to be interesting to see what continues to go on, but we'll be following what Brian's showing.
Well, what I like what you said, Brian, is that, kind of, okay, we kind of understand that right now in the next couple months, there is that sort of uncertainty, but then kind of coming out on the other side of it, whether it's, in the fall, the latter part of like Q3, sort of definitely going into Q4, it's almost like, even if, let's just say things are still uncertain, so to speak, it's like that. And I hate that I'm using this phrase, but it's almost like, well, that's the new normal. And we're just still going to go about and do it anyway, because we know that we've been able to kind of make it through the previous uncertainty. And then it's like, it's almost like we get more comfortable in it, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then kind of get into it. So I loved your insights on that for sure. So thank you for sharing that. I want to share some exciting news, but we'll just touch on these other topics and then we'll get to interesting things. Boutique hotels. I mean, again, there's certainly, again, the word of the day, uncertainty, clouding sort of outlook for boutique hotels after a strong 2024. Steve was really touching on it. We're talking generally boutique hotels, smaller businesses. And I mean, it's rising cost of things. Traveler preferences are changing. And it is also, operators and owners are rethinking staffing models just to kind of stay competitive. So those are some real challenges that these businesses are looking at. So Steve, did you have?
I did. Yeah. So look, I think we talk about boutique hotels a lot, and a lot of people claim that they are a lifestyle boutique hotel, when really there's not much anything there other than it's a small place and you go there. I think those are the places that are going to be struggling because they're not providing anything that is of a unique experience, right? People are still paying for that unique experience. Is it wellness? Is it something that has to do with your family travel? Is there something with pets that you can do at that place? Is it just a beautiful architect and art that's at that boutique hotel? The places I see, especially in Miami Beach right now, that are struggling are the places that have just done the same thing over and over again for many years, and they're not changing or doing anything. And as we're building out our boutique hotel right now down south, right, and I can share more very soon, it is ultra unique, and it is going to have a lean staffing model. It is going to be high ADR with high touch and a lot of cool things that you can book ahead of time. And I think that's what people need to start looking at is how are you going to start collecting that money ahead of time? How are you going to start to get people excited about being at your location? Because that's how you're going to win right now. And if you're not, you're going to struggle because you're not going to have that ADR to cover your labor and supplies at a cost that are going up and all the other things that are happening. That's what I'm seeing with boutique hotels. You really got to push yourself to stand out.
Yeah. Brian, what are we thinking?
Yeah, look, I think the buying power as well of a boutique hotel versus, a big branded hotel that's around the corner that's probably more in the lifestyle area. They're really going to struggle, I think, with however the tariffs fall, whatever they fall, it's going to increase the cost for everything. And when you think about, running a hotel, it's the three biggest costs are associated, right? It's energy, it's food, and it's staffing. I mean, it couldn't get any worse, right? It's the three
all
things
three.
that are
All going up. So.
all going up. Yeah, none of them are going down. There's just no question. So yeah, they when you've got a smaller footprint, your staffing challenges are much harder. One of the first hotels I worked in was a 90-room boutique hotel. It was a lovely hotel, but wow, we struggled. I mean, it was just, trying to keep staffing levels and you shared shifts and everything else. And then not to mention the marketing side of it. My gosh, it's the cost, for something that the ROI for a small boutique hotel is much lower. So, they're having to spend twice as much to get the same type of impact. And it's a real challenge. So yeah, I do feel for the boutique hotels. The only upside that I see is if they're in the luxury space, if they're in that upper tier, that's been pretty resilient. I think that will stay fairly resilient for a while. Yeah. I don't think there's much risk there. So I think it just kind of depends on, where you're positioned as a boutique hotel that's going to make or break your kind of future here.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. And I don't talk about this all the time, but some people know I do have some clients that I work with them on their travels as well, and sort of like the ultra high net worth individuals they're still traveling. They're not slowing down.
The 0.01%, the 0.01%.
Yeah.
They're
hanging out with. So they're keeping it fun by staying out there. Which this actually kind of ties into this next topic.
I'm excited to hear about this.
Yeah. So we all know I'm a big loyalty person. I think from years of having to travel, because as I was kind of building my own business while I was still working in a hotel, I would either, choose whatever flights were either the cheapest, or I could go like off of my shift at work and then go end up, hopping on a flight, or vice versa. And also sometimes even whether it was staying at a place that just fit the budget. So I wasn't a big fan I didn't really take advantage of loyalty programs. Now I am all about them. You name it, from obviously hotels to airlines to even car rentals. And I feel like I'm like a walking commercial for it. But so this hotel loyalty membership, we saw this surging in 2024. Which I think is great. And it's also important because we just talked about boutique hotels, and there are options for boutique hotels to get in on loyalty and rewards programs that I think is extra helpful when it comes to visibility and kind of moving forward through these times. But yeah, and we've talked about this in weeks past, how kind of like Marriott and Hilton are kind of like
fighting for the top. But I see, sorry to cut you off there.
No,
I have a question because I'm excited about this, because now we've got Brian here, and you were with IHG for a long time.
Yeah,
they're trying to come up through and get more and more loyalty members. How powerful are these loyalty programs for the brand? Like, what are they actually seeing? Because Sarah and I have talked about this. Like, to me, you have all this data, you have all these people, hundreds of millions of people signed up. What do the brands use this for?
Yeah, look, it's just what we're talking about, right? We're going into maybe a softer period. That's when the brands are going to double down on loyalty, because these are typically the people that are still traveling. They're still out there. They're still looking for deals. I will predict in the next few months, you will start to see even more bonus point sign up for credit cards, right? I mean, it was probably right out of the pandemic. It just seemed like every month somebody was one-upping by 10,000 points. I mean, I'm like, just somebody go to 1 million points and just call it a day.
Yeah.
Right? Sign up, get 1 million points, right? So I think two things in that space. Number one, it's a great marketing tool. It's absolutely phenomenal. So you can really target the people that are traveling. You can target deals, you can specials, bonus points, et cetera. So there's a lot there that those levers that they can pull on. And I think that's what you're going to see in the next few months. and it's going to be a competition. I think, last year what I heard a lot was, okay, I've already maxed out with this loyalty program, so now I'm going on to the next one, right? So I know a friend of mine who travels a lot. He's like, I'm a 2 million miler on Delta, so I'm not going to get it, so now I'm like, why'd you fly United? He's like, and so he's getting his status on another airline, right?
Yeah, it's the game. He's making it happen.
It's the game. So it'll be interesting to see as things soften, are people still able to kind of keep up with, getting to that elite status, which they're making harder and harder, right? So it's not going to get easier, and the rewards are going to go down. That's, just kind of the game that plays there. So it'll be interesting to see who kind of fights that battle here in the next few months. But I think it is going to be, like, you're going to see a lot of activity in loyalty.
I have a hot take. Can I ask a hot take? What is your hot take on airport lounges? Sarah and I go back and forth on this. What is yours, Brian?
I'm a huge fan of I'm a Delta loyalist, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, Brian and I
living in Atlanta. And you know what I'm so excited about? I want to see the new lounge in the D terminal in Delta in Atlanta. So I'll tell you, that's how geeky I am on that.
I okay, Brian, you and I are totally the same, because that's totally my thing. I mean, I've been in the Atlanta airport, even though I'm not even based there, because almost a good number of my flights normally have me flying through there. And I'll be there when a new Sky Club opens.
Yeah.
And I get so excited about it too.
I have a really good friend. One of my best friends is part of the experience team for the Delta lounges. So
oh my gosh.
So I text him. I take pictures of good and bad. So always good and bad, and asking, kind of sharing with him my experiences. So direct line into impacting it.
Oh my gosh, we might need to have him on, because that is super cool.
It's been a hot topic on our show over the last 2 years.
It's been a hot time. Well, to be fair, I mean, we were talking about it from the standpoint of like whether you get loyalty through your credit card versus just getting loyalty from just flying a lot. Now, I flew 110 flights last year. I was all over the place. So I certainly have status, and I have a whole system when I go travel. Steve has 2 little kids and isn't traveling as much right now, but when he does travel,
I can't get in the lounge. I'm spending all this money on my American Express cards just to qualify, and then I can't even get in because, sorry, $50 for each kid. I'm like,
I'll bring out a little food plate for you next time, okay?
Can I have some, please? Sitting outside in the terminal.
Crazy.
All right.
I'm just looking at the time here. Why don't should we just do a quick touch on one of these topics, or should we
Let's do the cruise one? Let's do the cruise, and then we'll do real time.
Okay, perfect. We'll do this cruise topic here, and then we'll just kind of like wrap up. We might go a few minutes over, if that's cool with you, Brian.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, perfect. Great. So new global cruise emissions rule is planning to reshape the industry. So the International Maritime Organization will require cruise ships to pay for carbon emissions starting in 2026. Operators are probably going to have to adjust their routes, their pricing models in response to this. This is a huge move, especially for sustainability in maritime travel. I mean, I was just at Sea Trade last week. Sustainability has always been really big for the cruise industry, which is by nature not necessarily it is not sustainable per se, but they make a lot of significant choices to make it as sustainable as possible, or at least like offset. So this was huge.
Yeah, I love seeing it. I'm a big cruise fan, and being here in Miami, and I can look out my office window and see the port out there, and I see all the cruise ships coming in and all the amazing people staying at all the hotels. But I can tell you, in those older ships, as soon as they're getting ready to take off, it just smogs the whole city. Right. And so if you have 3 or 4 of them going out at the same time, all these ultra luxury penthouse buildings are just getting smogged by the cruise ships going out. And you can see the new ships that are coming out, these mega cruise ships looking nice and clean. They're not doing that. So there needs to be something to kind of tie this all together. I know the cruise industry works really hard, and there's a lot of friends of ours that are on those cruise ships working hard to make it sustainable. So I'm happy to see this. I mean, Brian, what do you think? Are you a cruiser? Do you go on cruises?
I'm not a cruiser. I've never been on one. The only one I'd like to take is an Alaska cruise. So that's
highly recommend it. Totally fair. It's interesting. I was never a cruiser until I had the chance to go on. It was really more of like a press cruise. It was just 2 nights just to experience it, which was a great entree into it. Yeah, exactly. And then And then once being, I was like, oh, I get it. And now I've been on a good number. There's some people I know that have been on over 100, not quite those numbers, but as a hospitality, as somebody that's been in hotel operations, I get on the cruise ships and I'm just like, eyes are big. Just looking at the operations of it is so fascinating to me.
It's a fascinating business. Believe me, it's something I've kind of checked into a couple of times, and certainly in my role at HSMAI, it's been something that we've been looking at. There's so many, so much overlap from the commercial discipline. When you talked about, the emissions, the first thing that went to my mind is going back to my revenue management days, which is, are those ships full? Because if they're going to be charged for all of those emissions, right, like per ship, maximizing the capacity is going to, like, that revenue management angle is got to be number one. Like, that's those ships. And sometimes, they send them out with, 80% occupied, and that actually helps them from an operation standpoint. I mean, think about it. If you don't have a full staff when you load the ship up, nobody's coming in. So, I mean, it's like you're not going to pull extra staff in, right? So how are they thinking about that in terms of just maximizing the revenue and obviously the occupancy? If those, if that's how they're going to be charged in fees, that's going to be, that was where my mind went first.
Well, and keep in mind, occupancy for a cruise ship is different than occupancy for hotels. We're just counting hotel rooms. They are counting cabin with two people. That's
3, 4,
or 3, 4, exactly. So it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, the one good thing with a cruise ship is they know every single person who's on the ship, right? It's different than a hotel where you have like, you book a hotel room, you don't know who's there. Like, they know every single person, and when they order, just kind of getting nerded out there, they showed me around on some of these big Royal Caribbeans. Yeah, they know like perfect science, how much food to order, how many drinks, what's going to get consumed based on the mix of people that are on the ship. So. Anyhow, fascinating business. Always love it. Super
fascinating. Yeah. All right, we'll quickly do a quick real-time recap. So I always like to say what's happening out there on the streets of hospitality. Bringing it back to my Atlanta days. That was a joke from before we got on this segment. I see you shaking your head, Steve.
I'm not. You just make me smile every day.
Yeah, it's all right. So does Brian, had you thought of anything? If not, Steve, jumping in on kind of like anything interesting and like a cool hospitable experience that you experienced this week?
I had a good one last week on a flight that everybody boarded, and there was a mechanical issue with the restroom, which I won't go into details because you can make the jokes forever. But anyway, and they put everybody on and they sat us for about 20 minutes. And I have to say, typically they would let people sit for another 45 minutes, maybe even an hour. And it was the captain that actually almost kind of went through the cabin to say, we don't know how long it's going to be, and kind of like not asking, but polling, kind of, do people want to get off or do you want to stay on? Like, what do we think? And it was such an interesting conversation for the captain to kind of come back and have that with the passengers to kind of say, hey, look, I don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going to happen. We might get it fixed. We might not, what, and in the end, kind of decided to ship everybody off, which was a good thing because they didn't fix it and we had to get a new plane. So it just sped up that whole process of having to, get everybody off and then get everybody back on if it were, if they fixed it, or just they had to get a new plane. So it probably saved 45 minutes of, just waiting around and then getting everybody off because you got to find a new plane and whatever. So, but it was the captain's kind of just his demeanor, kind of his honesty, I think is what was really refreshing.
And he was doing like a real-time temperature check. Like he wasn't just like in the cockpit, that he like came out.
Right. Yeah, no, he was in the aisles.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh, I love that. Wait. Can we say what airline that was?
Well, I told you earlier,
Delta.
I only fly one airline.
I know. No, I knew you were going to say I'm a Delta. I am like Delta Diamond through and through. And so every week, So every week I'm always just like going. I just had to do that because I know that Steve is over there just like, let me guess, Delta.
No, I don't have it. I've got American Airlines down here.
It's okay. You're in Miami. That's their hub. That's a total fair.
Well, it makes sense.
It's okay. You can just move to Atlanta and then come to the,
There you go.
Well, all right. Well, my story, I've been walking the streets of South Beach a lot lately. All right.
Yeah.
And I've been getting out of my office a little bit more because sometimes it gets a little monotonous, and I have my team out in the, working on the vacation rental stuff. But for me, I like going into hotels.
Mhm.
And I started to work from some luxury hotel lobbies this past week. And I
Nice.
have to give a shout out to the Ritz-Carlton on South Beach because they have a beautiful little area to work, and their barista, I wish I had the name. She was amazing. She not only made me a coffee, she checked on me a couple times. You go up to a barista and you buy your coffee and you sit down. She
Mhm.
came over a couple of times just to check and see how I was doing, ended up talking, and her dream is to have a food truck out here on the beach one day, and just started talking about how to help her get there. And it was just a nice interaction with someone who could have just ignored me, bought my coffee, sat down on my laptop, but she kept checking in and was nice about it, right? It wasn't an annoying thing. It was just, you felt like you were taken care of. So shout
That's
out to
amazing.
that hotel.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll just do my quick one here. Shout out to the One Hotel in West Hollywood, just down the street from where I am. I happened to come by yesterday, and you know what they do, right? That entire lobby was full. Everybody is using it, as you kind of said, as like a co-working space. They're making so much money on everybody that's there. They're coming in. I mean, we're seeing people do group meetings. I'm almost convinced that some people are like, that's where they are every single day.
Could be.
And they're doing it right. And what I also love that they do, and I know that their head chef had started this, who and I'd interviewed her on another podcast before. She's amazing. But they have like this little farm stand, so they actually have like apples in a basket, grapefruit, random fruits that anybody can come, and it's more than just like the standard hotel or us, like a normal hotel where they just have apples out. This is like, you can get nectarines, you can get like, it's a whole fruit stand. And I love that that little touch that anybody can watch. They're not going to be like, are you staying here? You can only have this grapefruit if you're staying here.
Yeah.
So they're doing it right, and you always feel good and welcome. And so shout out to them.
How many grapefruits did you take home, Sarah?
2. I'm kidding. None. Oh, no, we were shooting something, which was another thing.
Mhm.
They're very friendly for that. Okay, our quick hospitality quote, and then we'll wrap this up. All right.
Yes.
Do you want to read this, Steve?
I'll go. Intention means every decision from the most obviously significant to the seemingly mundane matters. That's from our friend Will Guidara. Very nice.
Intention. Yeah. I mean, hospitality really is all about intention. I'm sure, Brian, you see this as well too, that, I mean, even as that translates through sales and marketing, it's all intentional.
Absolutely. Will's amazing. I'd love to putting in a plug to try to get him in one of our meetings, but he's spot on, right? Especially from a sales standpoint, right? And we kind of talked about it earlier, just that whole networking idea of especially new salespeople coming into the industry. You have to be intentional. You have to go out, look for the people that are going to make buying decisions, figure out who those people are, be very intentional in reaching out to them, following up, whatever it might be. So that's a great quote. And love Will. He's great.
Yes, we're all big fans. So I know we went over here, but any final words that you want to kind of end us off with, Brian? Anything for people to know or keep in mind for HSMAI?
Yeah, well, look, it's there's a lot of uncertainty out there right now, and things look doom and gloom at the same time. We're the hospitality industry, right? We're still going to survive. We're going to get through this. People are always going to want to travel. And hospitality is an amazing place to start your career. There are just so many avenues that you can take and grow and develop. So look, we'd love to be a part of that journey that you have if you're just starting off in hospitality or want a long career or maybe just a change in what you're doing today. So seek us out. We'd love to increase our membership and increase your networking, increase your education. And more importantly, if you're curious about the commercial discipline in hotels, join us in June at the Commercial Strategy Conference in Indianapolis. It's I guarantee you won't be disappointed. You'll have a great time, and you'll have some real thought leaders in the industry.
That's awesome. Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us today. Always
absolutely
great to hear other people insights. I mean, you've got certainly a huge, so much experience behind you. So it's always it just adds so much more. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. And I guess until next week, everybody, stay hospitable.
Stay hospitable.